Hello YouTubes! Welcome back to James Recommends. A lot of you guys have been asking, why don't you say what platform these games are on? And that'd be an excellent idea, except because these are one-take things that are totally unscripted, I'm not going to remember all the platforms. So we always put them below in the little text box if you're watching this on YouTube. So just go below the fold and it'll list all the platforms you can get these things for. So this week, we're going to talk about Divekick, because if you like fighting games, right, and if you really like that distillation, if you like games like the Bushido Blade series, you got to try Divekick, because Divekick takes everything about fighting games and gets rid of all the fluff, right, all the bells and whistles, and brings it down to the fundamental elements of what a fighting game is about. So what's awesome about this game is the fact that they really deliver on this, right? It feels like a chess match. It feels like a game of psychology. You know exactly what to do because there are no moves, right? There's just dive and kick. And one hit kills your opponent. You win the round with a single hit. But does that mean it lacks depth? Not at all, right? It just shows us how much there is there in fighting games, even without all the crazy moves and 70-button combos. So there's a lot of really engaging play and counterplay that you'll find just matching up with this 2-button game. And what's unique about it is that it is just a 2-button game, right? I don't even mean 2 buttons and a joystick or 2 buttons and a D-pad. This is just 2 buttons. All the options are in this game are to dive and kick, right? You press dive, it throws you into the air. You kick, you come on down. You press kick while you're on the ground, you hop back a little bit. So the entire game is about positioning and timing and understanding the psychology of your opponent. And this to me is what fighting games are about, right? This is the play that high-level players get to experience. This is an incredibly engaging type of play that most of us, because we don't necessarily have the time to devote to learning all the moves and how all the characters interact, don't get to experience in fighting games. And yet here it is, brought in all its glorious simplicity, right? So that's what's just awesome about this game, and there's plenty of interesting characters and storyline and a lot of I guess games and indie games community references that you'll probably chuckle at while you're going through. But really, it's this unique idea of taking fighting games and bringing them back to what they should be about, right? Not about how many moves have you memorized, not about whether or not this other person has played the game for a lot longer than you have, but simply about timing and positioning and psyching out your opponent, right? That's the fun, that's the really engaging part. That's what makes fighting games so much like a chess match, so much less about reflexes and more about the thought involved. And so that's what Divekick delivers on. As far as things that may be less engaging to you, if you are a fighting game enthusiast and you are already one of those people who really does spend dozens of hours learning all the moves and getting to that level, there may be a little bit less here, right? What this does is show us how the fundamentals of fighting games are thoroughly engaging in and of themselves without all those extra options that modern fighting games have delivered us, without having 60 guys, without having 12 moves a person, without having reverses and all this stuff. So if that's something that you're already past and you really like those things, this game isn't necessarily for you. On the other hand, a lot of the fighting game players who I hang out with, who are hardcore fighting game players, love this game because it's simple to get into. You can actually play with your friends, right? If your friend isn't a super hardcore fighting game person, after 20 minutes of playing this game, you'll have an actual competition, right? You'll be at the point where you can have an engaging play session with somebody who has not devoted that level of time to this game. And it really actually helps you build up, work on your fundamentals, right? Work on how good you are at positioning and psychology and all those other things. So I think for even the hardcore fighting game player, there's a lot here, but don't think of it as Street Fighter or as Skullgirls or any of those, right? This isn't BlazBlue. This isn't going to have the range and maybe depth, although I find a lot of depth there, that you're used to experiencing in some of the more hardcore fighting games. But with that, James recommends Divekick. See y'all next week.